And indeed, there we have it. We've turned the engine kind of upside down, and through the sump is the centre conrod. The big end there sitting over the crank journal nicely, just waiting for us to put the outer half of the big end on, the big end cap, and torque it up to 18 foot-pounds. As before, also I'll put a little bit of thread lock on it as a double like insurance, because you really don't want those coming undone. And then we'll put the sump plate on, and that means that we'll be able to turn the engine over and put it on the engine stand, ready to reassemble everything else, which would be great. That'll be a real step forward. Right, let's get this cap on. There we go, the big end cap is on, and torque wrench is set to 18. I just torqued it up, so it should just click now. There we go, on that one, and on that one. So there they are, torqued up to 18. Put some thread lock on as well, and also, of course, I put some assembly lube on the cap before I fitted it. And then we're going to put the sump plate on. But before I do that, I'm just going to half turn the engine over slightly. Oh yeah, just to check that everything's going smoothly and swimmingly, which it appears to be. Okay, so getting ready to fit the sump plate onto the bottom of the sump. Now we've got all the crankshaft bits done. So the sump plate is basically in two parts. So there's obviously there's a sump, then there's a gauze, then there's the plate. So it's like a sandwich. Hence there's two gaskets, because you put a gasket on first, then the gauze, then another gasket, then the sump plate. So you've got a sandwich. A couple of things to note. Obviously there's a hole in the gauze, and that corresponds with the hole, the pipe there. That's the pickup pipe for the oil in the sump. So that sucks all the oil back and puts it back into the oil tank. Then there's the sump plate itself, and of course the thing to notice is that one side has got a dip in it, and it's important to note that that dip side goes to the rear of the engine, so it lines up with that pickup pipe. So there's like a little puddle, a pool of oil here, and the pipe can suck that little pool up. So that makes sure that dip goes to the same side as the pipe. The other thing is, of course, they are a bit prone to leak, especially because people have to take them off, put them back on, change the oil, etc. So I do take a bit of time making sure that everything's done okay, and I use a lot of well seal, because there's well seal on there, then there's well seal on that side, then there's well seal on that side, and then there's well seal on the actual sump plate. So you've got a lot of well seal to put on, but I think it's worth it. And don't tell anybody, whatever you do, but what happens is, to be honest, when I change my oil, I often don't take the sump plate off. I just drain the oil that I can out of the primary chain and out of the actual oil tank, because my bikes, of course, don't wet sump anyway. And I don't take this plate off because it's such a faff. So that means when I change the oil, there's always, I don't know what percentage of oil, old oil, is actually left sitting in the sump. So it's not a great practice, and I don't recommend it, but you know, it's what I do. It's just a sort of, you know, that's what happens on my bikes, you know. You think it's such, oh, I can't be bothered. You know, that's life. I know I should change it, but I don't. Not every time. It's such a faff. Okay. Oh, and of course, you can get uprated plates that do have a drain plug in them from. You can get them from LP Williams, Triumph Spares, and I think a few other places probably do them as well. P&M do them, maybe P&M Motors, I'm not sure, but you can get uprated ones, with a plug-in. The trouble is on my bikes, I've got uprated sump plates on my bikes, but neither of them can you reach without messing about. Only you have to take the exhaust off both my bikes to get to the plug. So I've got a 3-in-1 on one bike that goes absolutely straight over the sump plate. You've got to take it off anyway. And on my T160, for some reason, the pipes, again, one of the pipes covers the plug. People tell me it shouldn't, but it does on my bike. And so again, you have to take the exhaust off to get even just to get to the plug, let alone the rest of the plate. But certainly a worthwhile upgrade if you're doing a lot of oil changing and this and the other. Okay, I'm going to put some well seal on, and then we'll get ready to actually put them on. Okay, so got the well seal on. It's gone off a bit now. Yeah, enough I think. So putting the first gasket on. Yeah, remember that we've replaced some of these studs because they were stripped. Okay. Get that down, then we get the filter gauze, which I've cleaned as much as I can, and that goes on. Just making sure I've got any more bits as well. Guns there. I'll get it out. Okay, get the gauze on, gauze filter, making sure that it fits round that feed pipe, or scavenge pipe, that's the word I'm looking for. Okay, then second gasket, and then sump plate, making sure that that dip is to the back over where the scavenge pipe is. And we've got some spring washers, which don't mix well with latex gloves. And get them pretty tight, but not too tight to be stripping. They are only small studs and they will strip. Okay, that's good. There we go, sump plate is on. And I'm probably not going to bother trimming that gasket down because it's underneath the engine, you're not going to see it. But we're now ready to turn the engine back over and hurrah, get the engine onto that engine stand, which I'm so looking forward to because then I know we're getting somewhere. And there we have it. The engine's back on the stand. Just got the adjustable on there. Oops. So I can turn it over. Just feels very nice. Does feel very smooth. I'm very, very happy with that. Yeah. Double check I've got the pistons on the right way around, especially that middle one. Yes. I don't know why they don't say front on these pistons. Obviously, I suppose they don't because, to fit the bigger cutaway to the rear, but it would help if it said front or something. But anyway, there we go. We're on. Yeah. Just one thing I think I forgot to mention before was, of course, before I put the barrels on, I ran a tap down all these threads. Now, these threads are basically where the cylinder head bolts go. What happens is there's these pillar bolts that actually screw in here, and then the cylinder head bolts screw into the pillar bolts. But these threads, very, very important that they're all totally 100% fine. So I've run a tap down them all, and they're absolutely fine. But it's very important to check that all these threads are 100% okay, 100% sound and full integrity before you start messing about putting the head on that, because if they you put the head on and one of these strips and you've got to take the whole thing off again. Yeah, and I haven't put those little dowels that go in these oil ways, and I'm going to put them in the head, not in the barrels, so that's why they're not there. Okay, but we'll come to all that as and when. I had a slight shock because I turned it over and I thought, oh my god, the tappets aren't moving, the tappets aren't moving. But of course, I haven't got the timing gear in yet, so that's probably why they're not going up and down. Oh well, takes one to know one. I'm itching to get the head on and get all the timing set. But what I think we'll do is I think we're going to turn the engine round and then we'll get all the timing side on to some extent, and then we'll put the head on and get the engine timing sorted. Yes, I blocked up the hole for the tack drive because we don't want things falling down into the crankcase. Now that the crankcase is all sealed, the only way of getting it out now is either by fishing it back up through there or taking the sump plate back off. So, yeah, I don't fancy either then. Okay, so yeah, we're done. Hoorah.